Yo, what is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NFL wildcard round slate on DraftKings. We do have a 4-game slate this week. I am going to quickly go through each position and just hit on the players that really stand out to me, the guys that I'm really looking to target on this wildcard round slate. I'll obviously go through quarterbacks, running backs, receiver, tight end, defense, talk about the players that really stand out to me. I am recording this video on Wednesday morning, so make sure you note that. I'm not recording this like an hour before lock or anything. We do have a couple injuries to watch. Definitely a big one's going to be LaShawn McCoy. He's considered a game-time decision, and the Bills don't play till Sunday, so that's definitely something we're going to have to watch. Hopefully we'll get the news before Saturday at 4:30 when the first game starts. Right now, as I'm recording this video on Wednesday, that's really the only big injury news that we really are waiting on is LaShawn McCoy and maybe Marquise Lee as well. Other than that, not a ton of injuries to look at for this 4-game slate. I will be making videos for all the NFL playoff slates. I'll be making one next week for the divisional round. I'll be making one the week after that for the conference championships. Just trying to get out as much content for you guys as I can. So before we get started, if you guys could drop a like on the video, I would really appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel, this is your first time checking out a video on my channel, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that way you'll never miss out on any of my new videos. But looking at quarterback this week on this 4-game slate, up top here we got Jared Goff going up against the Falcons. Just looking at this slate, looking over this slate, a lot of positions are tightly priced. Like a lot of the quarterbacks aren't really separated in price. All of them are in the same price range. So you can kind of pick and choose who you want. Really the only quarterback value play we have is Marcus Mariota. All the quarterbacks are kind of tightly priced. You can kind of pick which one you want. For me this week, I think my favorite quarterback out of all of them, out of all the quarterbacks that are going to be starting, I would say my favorite is actually probably Alex Smith at 6,300 going up against the Titans. Now, I'm usually not an Alex Smith guy. I usually don't roster this guy. I don't think I rostered him at all during the regular season. But this is such a good matchup. Titans have a very bad pass defense. Great spot for Alex Smith. And the guy has flashed upside this year. He has shown somewhat of a consistent floor. You can usually project him for about 15, 16 DK points. And he'll have those games where he goes off for like 20, 25, 30 DK points. And given the matchup against the Titans, really like this spot for Alex Smith. You obviously have other options right there in price. You got Drew Brees at home against the Panthers, but Drew Brees really hasn't shown much of a ceiling this year. And the floor's been kind of low as well. He just hasn't had big games this year. This is definitely a good spot against Carolina. We do like to attack them through the air. And the Saints are playing at home where Drew Brees has played really well throughout his career. But I don't really know if I want to go there. I feel like Alex Smith actually has a higher ceiling than Drew Brees, which is something I usually wouldn't think I would say. But it's just the way Drew Brees has played this year. I don't think I want to go there. I would say the best tournament play out of all these, all the quarterbacks in the 6K range, would probably be Cam Newton, 6,500. We know what kind of upside Cam has. He's a great tournament play. This guy has a crazy ceiling. He can get 30, 35 DK points. He provides you upside with his rushing ability. And in a potential shootout against the Saints, Cam could put up one of those monster games where he goes off for like 25, 30 DK points. I think I feel safer going with Alex Smith if we're talking about cash games. I think if you're playing cash on this slate, Alex Smith or maybe Jared Goff, those are probably the cash game options. You could go down to Mariota if you do need the savings, but Mariota has not looked good this year. It's definitely a good spot against KC. Do like to attack them through the air, but like I said, Mariota has not looked good this year, hasn't looked good lately. For fantasy, he's been pretty terrible. But he is one of the cheap values on this slate at quarterback. He is just 5,500, and if you want to fit in 1 or 2, maybe 3 studs, you're going to have to sacrifice positions. Could go down to Mariota, but I would only really go to him if you're trying to fit in a couple studs. Right now, I would say my favorite quarterback options on the week are definitely Alex Smith, Cam Newton, Jared Goff. Those are the guys that really stand out to me at quarterback, the ones I'm really looking to target. So moving on to running back, and talking about this position, we've got Todd Gurley up here going up against the Falcons. One of the reasons I think you could play Mariota if you need to save is to fit in a guy like Todd Gurley. This guy just has such a high floor, such a high ceiling. He's going to be insanely popular. He's going to be like 80% owned this week. But for good reason, this guy could totally end your day if he goes off and puts up one of those monster games. Just in his last 2 of the regular season that he played, 48, 55 DraftKings points. He's getting a ton of carries. He's involved in the passing game. And we know the Falcons really struggle to pass-catching backs. They allow a ton of fantasy points to running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield, and obviously Gurley can do that. So if you're playing cash on the slate, jam in Todd Gurley. You just plug him in. He's going to put up 15, 20 DK points. He can put up 30, 40, 50. So he's a great play on the slate. He's my favorite expensive running back. I prefer him over Kamara, prefer him over Hunt. I think my next favorite would most likely be Leonard Fournette at 7,400, going up against Buffalo. Great matchup. Buffalo has a very bad run defense. Definitely like to attack them through the run or through the running game. And we know Fournette has a consistent workload. He's going to get close to 20 carries, if not more than that, every game. He's going to get a couple of targets. He will be involved in the passing game, and he has shown a very consistent floor with somewhat of a ceiling. If he finds the end zone, he can usually put up about 20-25 DK points. So if you're playing cash, you want to jam him in. I think you can go Gurley and Fournette in cash. You probably have to pay down at quarterback to Mariota. Probably have to play 2 tight ends. I think that's something we might have to do this week, just because there isn't a ton of value. The pricing on this slate is really tight, and we're kind of going to have to find value wherever we can. So maybe playing like 2 tight ends if you want to fit in Gurley and Fournette as your 2 studs. Maybe even if you want to get in a 3rd stud and sacrifice at some other positions. Then I think that is viable this week. And like I said, with the expensive running backs, Gurley, Fournette are the options I really like here if I'm paying up. Kamara in tournaments obviously makes a ton of sense. That guy has a ton of upside. Not going to go there in cash games because he doesn't get enough work. And with how Kareem Hunt's priced at 8,100, I think I'd rather just go down to Fournette or just get up to Gurley. So saving Kamara and Hunt for tournaments, I think the cash plays at running back are Gurley, Fournette, and maybe Mark Ingram if you need to save a little bit. He does seem a little bit too cheap at 6,900. Even though it's a tough matchup against the Panthers, a very good run defense. Mark Ingram has played well against this team. Just in Week 13 against the Panthers, he got 14 carries for 85 yards. Also got 6 catches for 37 yards as well. Did find the end zone and put up 24 DraftKings points against the Panthers. So with Mark Ingram's price tag of just 6,900, I think he makes sense if you need an option that you can save on. And I think I'd save all the other running backs for tournaments. I would save McCaffrey for tournaments, Devontae Freeman for tournaments most likely. I think Derrick Henry could be a cash play at just 6K if DeMarco Murray is out. Obviously, if Murray plays, which I have a feeling he will play, that's going to really hurt Henry. We're not going to pay 6K for Henry when DeMarco Murray is active. If Murray is inactive, this is the first game on the slate, so we will have that news before the lock or before the games start. Derrick Henry could be a cash game option at just 6K if DeMarco Murray is out again. That's really what I'm seeing at running back. This isn't a position I'm going for value. The only value play I would see here would be Marcus Murphy if LaShawn McCoy is out. Definitely not a play I'm really excited about, but he is just 3,700. There's hardly any value on this slate. He's really the one value play we have that we could play if LaShawn McCoy is out. And he did get some work in Week 17 against Miami. Got 7 carries for 41 yards. Got 2 targets as well, 2 catches for 7 yards. And I have a feeling if LaShawn McCoy is out, then Murphy's going to get most of the work. Should see about 10, close to 15 carries. He will get some pass game work as well. So Marcus Murphy, definitely the one value play we have here at 3,700 if LaShawn McCoy is out. But that game is on Sunday. We're probably not going to have that LaShawn McCoy news by Saturday before 4:30. So you're definitely taking a risk if you roll with Murphy, because if LaShawn McCoy plays, Murphy is going to be a really bad play, and he's not really going to be involved. But I think that's really it for running back, at least the running backs that stand out to me. So moving on to receiver, also got some studs up here. We got Julio Jones against the Rams. That's kind of a tough matchup. Michael Thomas in a great spot against the Panthers, a team we like to attack through the air. I think if I'm paying up for receiver, definitely Michael Thomas over Julio Jones, in my opinion. At least if we're talking about cash games, this is a tough spot for Julio Jones. Rams have a really good secondary. Don't like to attack them through the air. They just have a really good defense. Much better matchup for Michael Thomas against the Panthers, a team with a bad secondary. Thomas has played well against this team. Week 13 against the Panthers, he did put up a solid game with 18 DraftKings points. Got 9 targets, 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. And Thomas has just shown a safe floor all year. The targets have been there all year. So if you're playing cash games, if you want to do like team gem them in, let's say if we plug in Gurley at running back, we plug in Fournette as our RB2, and then we go with Michael Thomas. If you do team gem them in this week, obviously that's going to really thin you in salary. You only have 4,100 remaining. But if you play 2 tight ends, you play a cheap defense, you play Mariota at quarterback, you can definitely fit in Gurley, Fournette, and Michael Thomas this week. It can be done. You're probably going to feel uncomfortable with some of the guys you have to roster, but plugging those guys in does give you a very high floor, a high ceiling as well. So if I have to rank the studs on this slate, the expensive running backs and receivers, I would say I'd rank them 1, Todd Gurley. Number 2 would probably be Fournette for me, and then number 3, Michael Thomas. Those are probably my favorite 3 studs on the slate. And obviously Michael Thomas is my favorite receiver on the slate if we're talking about the options you can pay up for. You can go to Tyreek Hill for 1K less. Usually don't like to target Tyreek Hill in cash games. But lately he's been seeing a solid target share. He's been getting targets, 9, 6, 6, 7 targets the last 4 games. He's shown a floor lately. We obviously know Tyreek Hill has a very high ceiling. He can put up big plays. He can put up those big games of like he did against the Jets, 39 DraftKings points. This is a great matchup. Titans, very bad pass defense, very bad secondary. Don't mind going to Tyreek Hill at 6,800. Would prefer him over Robert Woods if we're talking about the 6K receivers. In this 5K range, you do have options here, but those are options I'd probably say for tournaments. I think Devin Funchess seems a bit too cheap at 5,900, but I don't think we'll be going there in cash games. And this is kind of a tough matchup. He'll probably see some Marshawn Lattimore, and Lattimore is a good corner. Funchess did put up 16 DraftKings points against the Saints in Week 13. Got four catches, got 7 targets, 60 yards, and a touchdown. He could be sort of a cheaper play if you need to save a receiver at 5,900. I think I prefer him over all the other 5K receivers. If we're talking about the receivers in that 5K range, I would say Funchess is probably my favorite option there. But I feel like a lot of these guys are going to be tournament plays. We're not really going to go there in cash. I think the cash plays, we could find some value receiver. We do have some cheap options that could be plays. You're not really going to feel good about rostering them, but I feel like with the way this slate's set up, with how tight the pricing is, you're not going to feel good about a lot of value plays you roster. Somebody like Rashard Matthews or D.D. Westbrook, maybe even Eric Decker, these guys could be value plays. Rashard Matthews is just 4,900. Matthews is definitely inconsistent. I don't know if we want to go there in cash at 4,900, but just value on the slate is really thin. We don't have a lot of value plays. Could go to D.D. Westbrook at 4,400. He's been getting peppered with targets lately. Since his last 4 games, 8, 2, 7, 9 targets, 19, 4, 11, 1 DraftKings point. Been really inconsistent, but the targets have been there kind of all year for D.D. Westbrook. And if Marquise Lee is out again, then Westbrook should continue to see plenty of targets. Even if Lee plays, I have a feeling Westbrook's going to be like the number 3 receiver. It'll be Lee, Keelan Cole, and D.D. Westbrook to get most of the snaps, most of the work. So Westbrook as a value play, I think makes sense this week at 4,400. Then the final value play, Eric Decker. If you just need to really punt, if you're wanting to fit in 2 or 3 studs and you need a value play, I think Eric Decker does make sense. He's been seeing consistent targets lately. In his last 4 weeks of the regular season, saw 5, 5, 10, and 6 targets, 8, 11, 13, 4 DraftKings points. Been inconsistent, but as long as he's going to see anywhere from 5, 6 to 7 targets at just 3,500 and a good matchup against Kansas City, Eric Decker as a value play I think does make sense this week, especially if you're trying to do team jam him in and fit in like 2 or 3 studs. Eric Decker as a cheap play, definitely think he makes sense at 3,500. But that's really what I'm seeing at receiver this week for the value plays. So let's move on to tight end. We don't really have a lot of options here. I think we really have about 4 or 5 options we can really consider. Obviously, Travis Kelce is a great play on this slate, but I'm only going to save him for tournaments. I won't be able to go there in cash. I think tight end is a position we are definitely going to want to save at. And I actually think it makes sense this week to play two tight ends in your lineup just because how bad value is and how little value there is. So if you went with a guy like Austin Hooper as a value play, I think he does make sense. He's just 2,900. If you play him in cash games, you really only need about 8, 9 DraftKings points from him. He can get there. He usually doesn't see a ton of targets. This game does have shootout potential. Could be a high-scoring game. If Austin Hooper somehow manages to fall in the end zone, definitely going to pay off value. Even if he just gets like 5 targets, if he puts up a game where he gets like 4 catches for 40, 50 yards and a touchdown, that's obviously crushing value. Definitely possible that Hooper does that. I think he makes sense as a cheap value option at tight end at 2,900 if we're just looking to save salary on this slate. You also got Charles Clay, who I think is going to be a pretty popular option as well at 4K, especially if LaShawn McCoy is out. Not really sure how the Bills are going to plan on moving the ball if LaShawn McCoy is out. I doubt they're going to have a ton of success running it, and you obviously don't want to attack Jacksonville through the air. But with no McCoy, they're going to have to do something. Charles Clay is going to see targets. Since his last few games of the regular season, saw 9, 10, and 8 targets in the last 3 games, 11, 7, 12 DraftKings points. He's only 4K. I think playing him and Hooper as 2 tight ends for value, I think that does make sense if you want to jam in a couple studs. So if we're looking to save money at tight end, Charles Clay and Austin Hooper are definitely my favorite options here. Obviously, Kelce in tournaments, Greg Olsen in tournaments makes sense. If you want to go to Delaney Walker in cash, if you have the salary to where you can play him over Charles Clay, I think that does make sense. And I feel like we're really going to need all the savings we can get. So Charles Clay and Austin Hooper are really the 2 tight ends that I'm looking to target, trying to save some salary at this position. But moving on to defense, looking at the final position, up top at defense, we do have the Jaguars here. They are obviously a great play on this slate. Going to be really hard to fit them in. But if you can find enough salary, if you like the lineup you have, Definitely play the Jaguars D going up against Buffalo. This defense just gets so much pressure on the quarterback. They force a ton of turnovers. They're a great play on this slate, but we usually do like to save some money at defense, and I think there are options that we can go to that are cheaper. I think the Chiefs at 3,400. If you're not going to play Mariota this week, you can definitely consider the Chiefs defense. You're probably going to have to play a couple players against your defense just because it's a short slate. So even if you play like Eric Decker or Rashard Matthews or even somebody like Derrick Henry, you can still play the Chiefs defense. Like I said at the beginning, Mariota has not looked good this year and has not looked good as of late. He's been turning the ball over. The Chiefs are playing at home in Arrowhead, so I think they make a lot of sense as a defense to go to, especially in cash games at just 3,400 with how cheap they are. They are definitely my favorite defense on the week if we're marking out the Jaguars. Obviously, the Jaguars are the best play. But marking them out, I think the Chiefs are probably my favorite defense on the board at 3,400. If you really want to go cheap at defense and you really need to save at this position, I would say my next favorite play would probably be the Bills at 2,500, just because they're going up against Blake Bortles, and I still don't think Blake Bortles is that good of a quarterback. We know he will turn the ball over. He will throw pick sixes. And really, if you just pick the defense that gets a touchdown this week, you'll probably be good. You'll probably be set for defense. It could be the Bills. They're only 2,500. They make sense as a cheap value option, in my opinion. You could also go the Rams, who are playing at home. They have a really good defense. Usually don't like to target defenses against Matt Ryan because he doesn't turn the ball over a ton, but the Falcons are on the road. They don't play nearly as good on the road as they do at home. So maybe the Rams and Bills, I think, are the two defenses that make sense if you're trying to go sub 3K and you just really need to save here. But I really think that's it for defense. I think this is the defense that stand out to me. I think that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button if you have not already. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. If you have any questions on this slate, or if you need to ask me something, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or just leave a comment down in the comment section, and I will try and get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck on this slate, guys. Peace.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, she shaking fast. Yeah, she dropping slow. What? Yeah, neck on fro. Whoa, 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 whoa.